Hi there. This is a what to expect session for MM150 ExcelTrack modules. And we're going to take a look at MM150 M5 today and hopefully give you just a little preview of what's to come and some good advice, some good tips for how to best go about your modules for MM150. So when you first enter the class, if you click on content, of course, you're not going to see everything that's available to you for the course. You'll have to scroll down and take the readiness check first to see how prepared you are for this module, and then the rest of the course will open up for you. So my suggestion before you do anything is to go to the announcements area and thoroughly read through each of your announcements, especially your welcome announcement from your instructor. It will include the topics that are covered for the module, some good tips. Here's an ideal sequence for you to follow so you can be as successful as possible, hopefully have as few submissions as possible for the module in order to receive an A or a B and move on to the next one. And you'll also have a weekly Faculty Connect announcement that includes the link for the weekly Faculty Connect session, which of course is not mandatory. It's not a part of your grade. It's also not an attendance piece for the course like seminar is for a traditional class at Purdue Global. But it's a great place for you to connect with your instructor, ask questions about the competency assessment. It could even be sort of a one-on-one session because students often don't come. So if you show up, you and your instructor can talk about personal things. And if it's just the two of you, that won't be recorded. So just keep that in mind. And then there's archive links. Recording links if you would like to see what was covered in a previous Faculty Connect that you missed, that sort of thing. So make sure and read through all these announcements thoroughly. There will be some important reminders and updates for ExcelTrack that are typically posted. So if anything, any policies or important things for ExcelTrack have updated from the previous term to the next term, those will be listed here. You definitely want to read about those. For this recording, for this term, it was gating rolled out, which was new. And so these were some good reminders about that for students. And then usually your instructor will post a welcome introductory kind of post, since there's no introductions discussion board that's in ExcelTrack modules. So you can learn a little bit about your instructor usually in the announcements area. And then of course there's discussions, which are also not graded, but it's a great place for you to connect with your instructor, especially in discussion topic 1. You can post questions. Or you can post your introduction there, say, hey, this is me, and here's a little bit about me. But you're welcome to engage with these, and they're always fun. We have the funnest discussions in the math department, in my opinion. We always try to make them engaging and something students look forward to. And then the quizzes, of course, is where the readiness check is, so you'll want to take that, and you can access that here or back under content, under getting started. And then your grades, of course, your only grade for the course is going to be the competency assessment. That is the only scored item for modules in ExcelTrack. So next I want to take you over to my math lab, which I'm going to have to come out of student mode and go into instructor mode. So this will look a little different to you than it does to me from the instructor's standpoint. You will access my math lab under Learn. Learn is where, and this is a good place. This is where you'll want to look up your reading and our live binders. Our live binders are amazing. Let me take you to those really quick. They're chocked full of videos to help you with different topics. Say, for example, you're like, I really don't know about this expected value stuff. I need to watch a video and kind of learn a little bit more about this. So you can click on this video on expected value and learn a little bit more. So usually these are pretty brief videos. This is one of the longer ones, I think. So yes, and you can access the Math Center from here. There's a Math Center tour, Math Resource Library with even more resources if you need to jump back and review on some other things that are not even included in this class. Some tips on my math lab. Lots of great resources here. Live binders are awesome. So again, you can find that under Learn, the Learn section under Content. And then Connect, that's where the discussions are listed, and Faculty Connect information is provided. Again, you'll want to access that from the announcements area. That is not under a calendar widget or under more tools. It's always in the announcements area. Practice is where you go to see what kind of learning activities are available. And for this class, for MM150, it is my math lab. And I'm going to have to access it from down here as an instructor. And I will take you in here to preview an assignment. Let me do that. Preview the practice, I should say. So there's two items listed under my math lab. There's the practice and there's the competency assessment. And it's just one part of the competency assessment. There's actually two pieces to that. All right, so let's preview the practice. So the practice questions for Module 5, again, this is M5 for MM150. There's 40 questions total. If you click on this drop-down box, you can see all 40. And again, this is not scored. This is just for you. Sometimes you'll see multiple choice questions. Other times you'll see fill in the blank options, and there's sometimes these math tools at the bottom you might need to use. They'll pull up like this when you do need to use those. Let's see if we can find another format. Here's some more fill in the blank. Let's see. There's just a plain old fill in the blank there. So sometimes there'll be some graphing pieces too. And there's my math lab tutorial on how to use the tools that's available in the live binder if you would like to view that to help you get accustomed to these tools. But the greatest tools are right here under question help. That help me solve this, view an example, ask my instructor. That will email your instructor the exact practice problem you're working on and any comments you want to list there. View an example tends to be the most popular. You can just go through a little piece at a time to see how this question should be worked through till you get to the end, and you can check your work along with it. It's a great tool. So it takes this question in the practice and it has, same question template format, but different numbers. So it can walk you through and show you how to do this. So some great learning tools with immediate feedback to let you know if you're doing it right, if you're doing it wrong. It's a great learning tool. All right, so that's the practice, and I highly recommend that you do that practice and do it well. Don't just get a 20% or a 50% or 60%. You want to really be successful. I would suggest a 90% or better. Just strive for that 90% or better. Just keep on persisting till you get there. And then you'll feel ready for this assessment. And the assessment, let me preview this, is 20 questions. And some of them are multiple choice, some are fill in the blank. There's a variety, and I'm going to show you how. I'm not going to take you through this since it's assessment. I'll just take you here to this first screen, but I'll show you how this is scored. I'm going to pause the recording and come back with some scoring items. All right, so I'm back. So let's go under competency assessment, where you will access that My Math Lab Part 1 of your competency assessment. And you'll scroll down to the bottom and you'll see that's here. No, that's the Part 2, excuse me. Part 1 will give you directions. It says to go complete that in My Math Lab. So you'll go under My Math Lab resources and access it there. I'm sorry, there's not a link actually at the bottom to take you there. But Part 2 is a Dropbox assignment. And so the minimum submission requirements for this are that you have to attempt all questions in My Math Lab. And you have to attempt each problem in the Dropbox assignment for Part 2. So your instructor will not score your competency assessment until you complete all of those minimum submission requirements for both parts. And be very, very careful, please, not to plagiarize anytime you're completing a Dropbox assignment for ExcelTrack. You don't want to pull something from the internet and just copy and paste it and submit it. That is not going to be helpful for you or anybody else for that matter. And then you'll get reported for plagiarism, get a 0 on the assignment. It's just not pleasant for anybody. So make sure it's your own unique, your own work. All right, so if you click on Competency Assessment Part 2, that will take you to the Dropbox assignment. And it's a template already made for you. You can just type right here within the document, and when you're finished with it, you can submit it through the Dropbox. So there's a question for each bold criteria that go with the rubric for this module, and I'll show you that in a moment. So you're going to interpret data from a statistical graph, and then you're going to identify misuses or misinterpretations of data or statistics, and so forth. So there's 1, 2, 3, and 5 questions on this Dropbox Part 2 competency assessment. So again, you can fill in your work, answer your questions right here within the document, save it, and upload it into the Dropbox. All right, so let's take a look at the rubric real quick for this module, competency assessment rubric. So as I mentioned, in that Dropbox assignment, there was 5 questions, and each of those questions go with the bold criteria here. All right, so if between my Math Lab Part 1 and the Dropbox Part 2, if you complete 80% of those questions correctly, you're definitely going to meet the bold criteria here. But if you get 90% of the questions associated with that criteria, you will get a met for this mastery criteria that's in brackets. And so you'll notice down here at the bottom in this grade criteria chart, you have to meet all bold criteria to get an A or a B in the module. So each of these bold criteria have to have an X next to the met for all 5 of them. I think I missed that one. All right, so that will get you definitely an A or a B. But if you want that A, you have to have 3 or more mastery criteria that are met. So say you meet mastery here, here, and here, but not on these last 2, you're still going to get an A. But you cannot have any more than 2 of these not yet met X's for these mastery criteria in brackets. And just to show you a little bit more on how we score this, let me take you to another page real quick. This is actually a resource we share with our instructors, but there's no problem with sharing it with you as well. I will go to M5, scoring. All right, so here is the 5 bold criteria from M5. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. And you'll see that there's actually 4 My Math Lab questions associated with that bold criteria. So the first 4 questions in the My Math Lab portion of your competency assessment, they go with that first bold criteria. And then that first question in Dropbox Part 2 also goes with that bold criteria. So say you got the first question in My Math Lab right, the second question in My Math Lab right, the third one you got wrong, so you got 0 points on it. The 4th one you got right, and then the written piece you got right. So you have 80%, because that's 4 out of 5 questions, correct for this bold criteria. So you are going to go back to that rubric, and yes, you met, because you have to have 80% or more of the questions associated with that bold criteria correct. So you did it. But if you wanted to get that mastery, you have to have all 5. So if you have all 5 questions associated with that bold criteria, the 4 from My Math Lab and the 1 from the written piece, all of those correct, then you're going to have 100% for that bold criteria, and you will meet mastery. So this will be checked here. So this helps instructors make sure that they're scoring the competency assessment correctly. And you see it's the pattern for each of these bold criteria. 4 questions on My Math Lab, 1 question in the Dropbox assignment. And again, the minimum submission requirements state you have to attempt all questions in both the My Math Lab and the Dropbox assignment. All right, so that was a lot of information in just a little bit of time. Hopefully it was helpful for you to get started in MM150 ExcelTrack modules. If you have any questions, please contact your instructor. Thank you.